Okay, so we've seen a bunch of basic shapes, and what we're going to add now is labels. So labels are super cool. They let us draw words or numbers onto the screen without having to like make them out of rectangles and circles and stuff. And they're also going to be really valuable later on. So let's make sure we get a good understanding of how to use them. So labels work a little bit differently. Honestly, it's a little confusing as to why they didn't just leave everything being coordinates first. The way labels work, you're gonna say label. And the way labels work is they go your value of your label, meaning the words you want to say in quotes or the numbers you want to say, and then your X and then Y. These are the only required values for a label. So here I can say, you know, some words in quotes, and then I'll give it an X and Y coordinate. Maybe I'll go at 200, 100, kind of in the center, but along the top of the screen. Maybe I'll even do 50. If we run this, bada boom, and nice and small over here, we've got some words. They, by default, don't require a size. If you just say the value, an X and a Y, the label will be made for you. You don't need to specify a size to start. If you want to change the size, though, you can add now, right? These are the required things. You can add an optional size property and just say how big you want the text to be. Play around with the numbers, see how big it makes it. 20 doesn't make it much bigger. So let's try maybe, I don't know, 100. Though that's a lot bigger, right? So 20 is not that much bigger. 100 is a lot bigger. Let's go somewhere in the middle. Let's make like a 70. That's pretty good. Making it like the, you know, almost the entire screen. So we got some words here. Anytime you're putting a phrase in here, it has to be inside of quotes or a variable that's holding something in quotes, but we don't know what variables are yet, but I just got to say that in case someone's coming back to look at how labels work. Or if you just want to put a number, you can put a number in there without it being in quotes, and your value will be a number, which becomes really valuable, a bunch later on once we start like messing around with certain things. Having it stored as just a number as opposed to words and quotes is nice. So even though if I just put 50 here, it'll say a 50, and if I put this 50 in quotes and make it red, right now, it doesn't make literally any difference when I run it. It is a big deal later on. So just know, if you want it to be words, words and stuff, it has to be in quotes. Numbers, doesn't need to be in quotes. Probably a little too big there. Let's change the size back down to, let's try 50. Whoops. 50. Run it. Words and stuff. There we go. That's not all that there is for labels, though. There's actually quite a few optional things over there. If I go to the documentation, look at labels, you can see there are 3 lines of things that it takes over here. There's the value, the X and the Y coordinates, size is the first one we've shown, but they've got font, bold, italics, and look at that. It still has fill. It still has border, border width, opacity, all those things we saw before. We have not seen rotate or align or visible yet, but we'll get there. We'll get there someday. Play around with it if you want to play around with it, right? Feel free. Go wild. But I'm just going to show a couple other easy ones. So the fonts over here, honestly, it's not, I don't think they've implemented all of them yet. I think they're working on it. But if I want to change the font from this, I think I can say like Arial. That might be the default font. And we've got Arial. I think if I say monospace though, it changes it to like more, I don't know, different looking words. Honestly, we're not playing around with font all that much. I wonder in the documentation, do they say the fonts that are available? The default is Arial. At the moment, it can be Arial or monospace. That's all that we're allowed to have for fonts at the moment. They're going to keep working on that eventually to get, I'm sure, all sorts of other fancy stuff. After adding fonts, which I don't like the monospace one for this, so I'll go back to Arial. Let's play around with a little bit of, we'll do the other word-specific stuff. We can say bold and then call that to be true or false. By default, it's false. So really, if you're writing bold, you're going to say true for now. And then it'll make it bold. If I get rid of that, maybe I can do italics. Italics equals true. And then bada boom, italics. How does it go? Label. See, this is what you can use the documentation for. let's go up to the first time we see label. Oh, it's not italics, it's just italic. So that's why I'll say italic. And now we won't have an error, and it kind of slants your words and stuff, right? Those are the specific ones, but then also border you can still use, fill you can still use. I can change the color of my label by making the fill equal to, I don't know, purple. And now we got some purple words and stuff. If I want to change the border to be a different color, I can make the border of this purple set of words be red. And now our words and stuff are purple with a red border. You could also, just like we saw before, we could make our fill equal to none so that we can, you know, put it on top of stuff, right? And let's say, let me move this circle, this oval back up here. Maybe I move it up to like 50. You can see that yellow oval behind our words and stuff up over there because we have a fill of none. So it actually becomes see-through versus, again, if we had a fill of white, now it's no longer see-through even though it looks see-through, right? That you can't see the oval behind it. I don't know if it does dashes. Does it do dashes? Let's see. Dashes equals true. I think it would look really weird if dashes were true. Yeah, all right. No dashes. That's okay. But fill border gradient still works. Let's see a gradient here. So instead of fill white, let's do a gradient from blue to yellow is always kind of nice. From blue to yellow. Maybe we'll start this on the right side. And so now our gradient is going, ooh, words and stuff, fancy with a gradient from blue on the right to yellow on the left. That's our labels. Pretty cool, right? You can write words and stuff. And don't forget, this first, the weird thing about labels is it goes label, the value that you want, then the coordinates. And size is actually an optional parameter. You don't need to input size if you don't want to. Last thing I'll say is words have to be in quotes. If your label is going to be numbers, like a score or something like that, you just want to store it as a number, really. That's the best way to do it. Whoops, I don't want to save this. Look at that. Words and stuff, numbers and stuff. That's it for labels, my guys, my people.